My name is Samantha and I'm 35 years old. I run an Italian restaurant that began as a modest second-hand shop. Over the past decade it's grown into a popular spot and we've moved to a larger, more impressive location. My team has expanded to about 20 staff members. My husband Daniel is 38 and we've been married for 5 years. He was one of our regular customers when the restaurant was still small. Initially I thought he was just seeking attention, but his consistent presence turned into a ship. I was dating someone at the time, but we broke up after he cheated on me. Daniel's upbeat personality was a great comfort during that rough period, and eventually our friendship blossomed into romance. Our relationship was seamless, and introducing each other to our families felt like a natural progression to marriage. After we got engaged, Daniel began helping out at the restaurant. Once we were married, he left his job and joined the restaurant full-time, leveraging his business and finance background to take on a managerial role. I rely on him heavily, and although we considered moving to a new home, we decided to stay in my old place due to its proximity to the restaurant. While many couples who work together face challenges, I find great happiness both at work and at home. However, I'm concerned about my mother-in-law. She struggles with money management and often comes to the restaurant asking for financial help or food, claiming she's short on essentials. I'm really in a bind. Can you lend me $100? I promise I'll pay you back soon. Mother-in-law, you said the same thing last time. You still haven't repaid the money I've lent you. I can't lend you anymore. Oh really? Then I'll just take leftovers from the restaurant. I can't allow that either. We have a policy against taking home leftovers to minimize food waste. How heartless can you be? We're family. You could slip me something on the side. What am I supposed to do? Isn't Daniel the owner here? Doesn't that make me like the chairwoman? You're not the right person to talk to. Bring out my son. No, that's not correct. I managed the restaurant and Daniel is away on business. You're inconveniencing our customers, so please leave for today. I'll have Daniel contact you later. My mother-in-law's behavior is always problematic and she refuses to listen to me despite being an employee. She believes Daniel owns the restaurant. Daniel's family once ran a business that failed due to mismanagement. His parents overspent on their salaries and bonuses, and his mother's lavish spending on trips and luxury items left them with massive debts. Daniel, on a scholarship, hoped to save the family business, but it went bankrupt just before he graduated, and his parents declared personal bankruptcy. By the time we married, his parents had adopted a more frugal lifestyle, but after his father's death, his mother received an inheritance and started spending recklessly again. Daniel usually managed his mother's demands, but as the restaurant thrived, he spent less time there, leaving me to handle her. One day I left the restaurant to visit a rival area across the street. While observing from a table, I spotted Daniel outside with an unknown woman. I quickly settled my bill and followed them, my heart racing. To my shock, I watched them enter a motel laughing together. Distraught and furious, I chose not to confront Daniel immediately, but to gather evidence. I hired a private investigator who provided solid proof for potential legal action. The investigation revealed that Daniel had been frequently meeting this woman while neglecting his work duties. Once I had the evidence, I confronted Daniel directly. "Daniel, are you hiding something from me? What do you mean?" "Of course not. I wanted to believe that, but can you explain this?" I handed him the envelope containing the proof of his affair. His face went pale as he saw the contents. "When did you get this?" "I hired a private investigator." "I can't believe you've been cheating instead of focusing on your work. How do you plan to make up for this?" "Samantha, please calm down. Let's talk this through." It was a fling, a moment of weakness. "I love you and I'll end things with her. Forgive me. The restaurant needs me and I can't tolerate betrayal. We promised to be faithful and breaking that promise is unforgivable." After our conversation, we decided to get a divorce. Since I've been living in this house before our marriage, Daniel would need to move back to his parents' place or find a new home by the end of the month. Despite our decision, I couldn't fire Daniel without cause. Even if he resigned voluntarily, someone needed to take over his responsibilities, especially the financial tasks he handled. Plus, I had a business trip planned for negotiations the next day, so I had to leave the restaurant in his hands. I had no idea how things were about to unravel. The negotiation went smoothly, but when I checked my phone, there was an unexpected SMS. Assuming it was from an employee or someone else, I opened it and found a message from my mother. "In-law, I heard from my son that you're getting a divorce. I'll moving in with him, so you need to vacate. I'll dispose of your belongings and I want the restaurant and your car." Shocked, I tried calling my mother-in-law immediately, but my call was blocked due to her request. I couldn't reach her on WhatsApp either, as the messages remained unread and calls were disconnected. Unable to get through to anyone at the restaurant because of the lunchtime rush, I decided to rush back. When I arrived, my mother-in-law had already thrown out my belongings, taken my luxury car for a joyride, and was heading to the restaurant. She stormed into the back office, disregarding the staff's protests. "Ma'am, please return to the customer area. This office is off limits." "What are you talking about? I'm the owner's mother, which means I'm practically an owner too." Some employees, recognizing her, took action. They gathered the male staff and called the manager. One of them reached me on my cell phone. "Samantha, it's an emergency. The manager's mother is claiming to be the owner and has entered the back office. She's there. I'm on my way. Try to keep her at the store until I arrive." Daniel, who had been called by the employees, was frantically trying to manage the situation. "Mom, you shouldn't be here. Let her go out the back and talk." "What are you talking about, Daniel? Is this why your wife is leaving you? Aren't you getting a divorce?" "I was asked to help with moving, so I disposed of all of your wife's belongings. From today, let's live together. Now that the troublesome wife is out of the picture, this restaurant is ours." My mother-in-law's outrageous statements caused a commotion among the employees gathered in the back. "What are you talking about, Mom? I'm the one leaving, not Samantha." "But Daniel, you wanted us to live together. You own this place and the house too, right?" The employees, realizing the gravity of the situation, were outraged. When I arrived back in a hurry, I found my mother-in-law and husband being confronted by the staff. At the back office entrance. What have you done with our boss? This isn't your restaurant. I took a deep breath and tried to explain the situation to my mother-in-law once more. Mother-in-law, as I've told you before, this restaurant was started by my parents. My father passed away before I came of age and my mother continued to run it after I got engaged. My mother was in a car accident and became wheelchair bound. My younger brother and his wife took care of my mother and I took over the restaurant. With the help of the long-standing staff, Daniel started helping around that time, but he's just the manager, not the owner. This restaurant belongs to my family. The term a manager can mean different things depending on the context. That's not true. Daniel managed the finances and operations, but that doesn't make him the owner. He was brought in because I'm not good with money and he has a degree in economics, but he is still my subordinate and I am not the owner either. I'm just a hired manager. The restaurant's ownership is still with my mother and she makes the final decisions. In that case, I'll settle for just the house and the car. Give them to me. My son said you're paying the property taxes, so there's no excuse. Yes, I'm paying the property taxes on the house, but it's still under my mother's name and I haven't inherited it. I'm paying the taxes as a friend. The car was bought before our marriage, so it's my personal property, not a marital asset. Since we're divorcing because of Daniel's infidelity, I'm entitled to compensation. Daniel's only entitled to his share of the marital assets. Realizing the situation, my mother-in-law seemed stunned and panicked. She then made a desperate apology. I'm sorry, Samantha, please reconsider the divorce. I have debts I wanted my son to pay off, so please spare me the compensation. She admitted to misusing the restaurant's funds, thinking she could do whatever she wanted. Mom, what are you saying? You promised to live within your means and avoid further debt when you filed for bankruptcy. But Daniel, you were using the company's money for trips and to see your mistress. You said you wanted to sort it out before your wife found out. Mom, why would you say that in front of everyone? A heated argument between my mother-in-law and husband revealed another shocking truth. Thanks to her slip-up, everything came to light. Daniel, what's going on? They kept apologizing, but it was too late. Reviewing the accounts, I noticed some suspicious entries. The lodging expense for Daniel's business trip was exorbitant for one person and the hotel was a known spot for short romantic stays. There were also receipts from expensive shops and a mysterious jewelry store from late December. I found undeniable proof that Daniel had been using the restaurant's money to lavish gifts on his mistress. I owe everything to my mother-in-law, whose slip-up revealed the full extent of the deception. This incident was the final straw leading to Daniel's dismissal. Besides seeking compensation for Daniel's infidelity, I also demanded he returned the money he had embezzled from the company. For my mother-in-law, I sought compensation for the belongings she disposed of, the damage to my car which she caused while using it without permission, and a nuisance fee for disrupting my business. All these claims were formalized in a notarized document with the help of the attorney from the detective agency managing the divorce proceedings. I could focus on moving forward while Daniel and My mother-in-law faced financial ruin soon after my ex-husband Daniel and my mother-in-law came to see me. We struggling to make ends meet due to the compensation payments. Could you consider reducing them? I'm not sure. You should discuss that with your lawyer, but we're barely managing to afford food. We can't apply for welfare because we're working and we still have to pay taxes. In that case, you might want to contact a food bank. They can provide food that would otherwise be discarded, though still edible. Why should we go to a place like that? You're being so cold. Weren't we family once? You may have been my mother-in-law, but the only family I had through marriage was Daniel, and we're divorced now. You're a STRD to me. Besides, you treated me terribly and I have no obligation to help you for any issues regarding the compensation payments. Please contact my lawyer. From now on, I'll call the police if necessary. Being cheated on again and witnessing the misuse of the company's funds has added another layer of trauma to my experiences with love and marriage. My initial impression of Daniel as a player and spendthrift turned out to be accurate. I'll use these lessons in future relationships and job interviews. Realize I had failed to manage the restaurant's finances effectively. I consulted with my mother and decided to hire an accounting service. They will be paid a fair wage to manage our accounts, check receipts thoroughly, and provide advice on business expenses. I should have done this sooner. I'm deeply grateful to my staff who showed their support by being outraged at my ex-husband and mother-in-law's actions. I've resolved to appreciate them more than ever. With plans for my mother's succession of the restaurant in mind, I am committed to honing my skills as a manager and business owner to become someone my team can be proud of.